Our president, in his never-ending quest to self-aggrandize, wants to have a stadium named after him. In fact, he was recently, yesterday, at the Washington Commanders game. And I'm a firm proponent of stopping with this whole idea that politics shouldn't be in sports. Politics has always been in sports. And this particular president is ever present, and his politics are ever present relating to sports. And the Washington Commanders have been long fighting for a new stadium to replace RFK Stadium. To that end, President Donald Trump put it out there through his advisors and, the whisper campaign. He would like this new stadium named after him. Hopefully that won't happen, but there's a possibility it could. Usually put it this way. Usually they name stadiums after dead people.
I thought, Mo, they named stadiums after companies that paid big bucks for it.
Well, they usually have a name of the stadium, and then there's naming rights on top of it.
Okay.
Like for example, you had the Forum in Inglewood where the Lakers used to play. Then it turned into the Great Western Forum because they had Great Western Bank, and then they changed it again. And then they will build certain stadiums like Staples Center with a naming corporation already connected to its creation.
Right.
If there's no corporation connected to the stadium, like in LA, we have SoFi Stadium. SoFi was connected to the construction of the stadium, so they had first chance at naming rights. Sometimes they just build a stadium and then they'll put something on top of it. Arlington Stadium, where the Dallas Cowboys play, that was Jerry Jones's creation, and then they brought in AT&T on top of it, and then they said AT&T Stadium. So it depends on how the stadium is constructed, but yes, for the most part, they're just naming rights deals. Like for example, Staples Center where the Lakers played is now Crypto.com Arena.
Right.
So if they change the naming rights to it, so it could go either way. It depends on how they want to do it. It could be, I don't know, it could be FedEx Trump Stadium or something like that. Heaven forbid.
Yeah. Well, he likes to slap his name on everything. Isn't this the guy that wants himself posted on the,
yes,
the mountaintops and the, yeah, no thanks.
He would love to be on Mount Rushmore. He would love to be on the name of the ballroom. He wants to put Melania's name on the Kennedy Center. And like I said, if your name is on something, it gives the sense that either you created it, you own it. He's, as all presidents are, they're concerned with their legacy, but he, for some reason, associates having his name on it as part of his legacy. It's not likely to happen, but it possibly could happen. And I mentioned this story because
he's got all these billions from crypto, Mo, so he could pay to have his name put on there, right?
He could, but he's never supposed to use his own money.
Oh,
he's supposed to get other people to do it. He doesn't pay his own contractors. What is he going to do? Shell out money? No. But I mentioned this because President Trump and the involvement of the president in sports, it's one thing if he's just showing up to games, but it's another thing when he's always actively commenting about the sports, what's going on in the NFL. He's complaining about the kickoffs, or he was complaining about Colin Kaepernick, or he's complaining about who is or is not coming to the White House and why. That's involving himself in sports. And when he went to the Commanders game yesterday, he decided, because we're on the eve of Veterans Day, to read the oath that all veterans take in pledging their support and defense of the Constitution. And all I can say is we have some video. It didn't go as well, I think, as the president would have liked.
that is a lot of booing, Mo.
It's not only, it's a visceral response.
Mm-hmm.
I've been at events where you have political figures who may show up, and whatever president shows up, you're going to get some booing regardless. That has always been the case. But I've never heard anything like that. The visceral response. And maybe DC is not indicative of the rest of the country, because I know the president is beloved in some quadrants. Like, he would show up for a college football game down south or a NASCAR event, and you have a very different reaction. So I'm not going to say that what happened in Washington, D.C. is emblematic of the rest of the country. That would be untrue. But I will say that I don't remember any president being booed like that, as vociferously as that, as frequently as he is, as he travels around the country. Now, he'll show up next week at a UFC event and they'll just love him. But I've never seen that type of negativity voiced in relation to a president. And we could talk about his polling numbers, but you can't deny that he actively employs tactics which does not endear himself to the majority of Americans. And again, I'm not going to contradict myself. Part of the Republican superpower is they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of that. They don't care. It doesn't matter whether you boo him. It doesn't matter whether you protest him, like we saw with the No Kings protests. President Trump is going to do whatever he wants to do. Number one, because he knows he's not going to get any measurable or significant pushback from Democrats, and he's not going to lose any report from his Republican base. And as long as those two things stay true, there's no reason for him to change course, even though he's insecure as an individual and wants to be beloved.
Got a message from CC Ryder with a 10. Thank you for that, CC. The North Korea, Kim Tu-sung University, Kim Tu-sung Square, Kim Susan Palace of the Sun, Kim Tu-sung Stadium, she writes, a major sports venue in Pyongyang, and Kim Il-sungya National Flower. So yeah, equating to the Trump stadium idea to that dictators do this all the time, name things after themselves, right?
Absolutely. And Donald Trump wants to be remembered. He wants that statue. He wants that monument, and however shape it may take that form, where he wants to be seen in that same light. And what he leaves out and forgets is that's forced support. You know, if you see Kim Jong-un, excuse me, and you have any type of gathering, people are forced to applaud under threat of death. And he wants to be revered in that way. He wants to be seen as someone who's an authoritarian in that way. He just doesn't want the title of authoritarian. I'll give you an example, and this has to do with race and racism. I'll go on social media and I'll point out, you know, that's racist or that's racist, and people bristle at the title, at the accusation. They're okay with the behavior. They're okay with the tactics. They're okay with whatever's being done. They just don't want the title. Donald Trump is okay with everything which is connected to being a dictator. Donald Trump is okay with all the trappings of quote unquote being a king. He just does not want to be seen in that light and affixed with that title. He doesn't want to be called a dictator, but he's just fine with pulling out the dictator's playbook. He's just fine with cozying up to Viktor Orban. He's just fine with hanging out with Kim Jong-un and sending love letters back and forth. You know, he's fine with all of that, but he doesn't want to be called a dictator. He doesn't want to be called a king, but he's okay with everything which is emblematic and reminiscent of them.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.